jump right in. And
we can always do that thing that I've seen Nathan do in his broadcast where we make one face, like I'm the mouth and you're the top part, and then there we are.
That's great.
In case you ever wonder what you'd look like with a beard, and we can sing a song.
I don't have to wonder that. James Maple has this app called Face Switch or something.
Oh, and I use that too.
Yeah, he did one time when Carter was like 10 of the top half of Carter's head and James's big beard. It was great. All right, well, let's get into it. I'm having everybody start these out by saying who you are, where you are, and maybe something about how we know each other.
Who can say who and where we are in this strange alternate reality bubble that I inhabit now? But in our former world, my name was Leo DiSanto, and I'm from Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, the fabled Pennsylvania Dutch country, out here in the farm country. And I'm a singer and songwriter and general kind of story tinkerer, I guess you could say. Although, the job description seems to be changing rather rapidly these days. A couple of weeks ago, I was a full-time bar musician, making my living playing in, bars, nightclubs, old folks' homes, on the street corners, kind of wherever I could do it to make a buck. Ringo. Sorry, my dog's getting noisy back there.
It's okay. So your songwriting and your band are some of the things I evangelize about most when it comes to music. Can you talk a little bit about your band and your music?
Yeah, my main project for the past decade or more now, actually, I guess, which blows my mind, is called Vinegar Creek Constituency, which started out just being kind of a one-off gig, was the intention. In fact, the first time we played together, some of us had never met. I had never met our banjo player.
Oh.
The first time we were on stage together at the Chameleon Club, which was, the biggest venue in town at the time, was the first time we'd ever met, period. So there was nothing except, hey, I know this great banjo player, great, get him. So it was that loosely organized to begin with, which is why I named it some dumbass thing like Vinegar Creek Constituency, because it wasn't really a band. I figured it was a constituency, loosely constituted at that. But it stuck. People dug it, and we decided to do it again. And at first it was kind of slowly. It was maybe one time a year we'd get together and do this under-rehearsed show, because I was just getting into acoustic and folk and bluegrass and country music at the time. I'd been a rock guy all my life. That's what I played and that's what I knew. But I really started to enjoy the simplicity of that, of being able to bring the sound of something that you could do around a campfire to being the same project you could bring on a stage without all. I mean, I'd just come from a band where we were carrying a full-sized Hammond organ up the stairs of the club every night. So this really appealed to me, and it stuck, and now we're 5 albums in, and probably 15 years or so we've been playing together in some formation or another. It's kind of people tend to call us a bluegrass band because of the instrumentation, banjo, fiddle, mandolin, upright bass, guitar, but I kind of see it as just a conglomeration of a bunch of early American song forms stuck together. There's some early swing, there's some ragtime, some classic country, some early rock, some bluegrass for sure.
But it pisses off the bluegrass purists when you get us to play your brand of bluegrass, right?
I imagine it might. I don't know. I mean, some of them really like it. Some people have kind of scolded me about rejecting the label so much. And they probably have a point, that I might have bitched too much about this, just because I'm apprehensive about people expecting it to be bluegrass, because I don't see it that way. I've never really focused on the things that to me are the hallmarks of bluegrass. I certainly practice a lot on my instrument, but technical proficiency seems to be the overriding concern in bluegrass music. And maybe they would even say I'm wrong about that. But for us, it was always more of a songwriting driven, kind of emotion and vibe driven type of thing. And I think it's a lot grittier and more unkempt and more rough hewn than most of what goes for bluegrass. But some have pointed out to me that bluegrass is such a kind of, ever-changing and progressive thing these days anyway, that maybe I should just shut up about it, and that we might find a home with bluegrass fans and you know, there are plenty of people that love bluegrass like us, and I'm sure some really don't too much, or they'd rather the songs were longer and had more solos, or who knows.
What you've coined a term though, specific to the particular brand of music you put out into the world. Do you want to tell the people what it is?
Americana sorta. It's a genre that has exactly one member. Guess who?
Perfect.
You have to start to making up your own, start to making up your own labels sometimes, I guess. And that became the title of our fourth album, actually, which was our banjo player Mark's idea. He liked it was a word that I made up to answer the question, "What style of music do you play?" And he said, that'd be a good title for this album. So that's
it's perfect, and it's a really spectacular album. I really highly recommend it all the time. Like, I don't shut up about it. Let's also, while we're on the subject, talk about this one. Sorry, it's backwards for the Instagram viewers.
Yeah, the shortcomings of technology. Yeah, that's our new one, the Halloween tapes. It came out just this past January. It's a duo album, our first duo album, because Jeff Bryson, the mandolin player, and I have been touring as a duo for, I don't know, 7 years or so now. And this kind of started out of necessity. We were really the only ones that were kind of derelict enough in our lifestyle to have the latitude to go on tour for long periods of time whenever we wanted to. Some of the other guys have careers and families, and our bass player goes with us sometimes, Mike Vitale, but he's a full-time bass professor at Millersville University, so he's also tied to something of a schedule. Jeff and I started touring back in maybe 2012 or 13, and at that time we just felt like a piece of something with a bunch of other pieces missing. We were just kind of trying to do the songs as best we could, just the two of us. But over the course of 7 years of touring together, we really worked hard on developing a sound as a duo that we thought was kind of tight and cohesive and made a bigger noise than you'd think two people could make. That was our goal. At first, it was kind of like, let's just jump around and stomp our feet as loudly as possible and make a big deal out of it. Maybe people will buy it. But eventually, we kind of really worked out the arrangements. So we've been saying for years now that we ought to do a recording like that, so that when people are seeing us in, I don't know, Maine or something, and they buy a CD, they're getting what they're hearing. Some people definitely prefer the energy of the full band, but I dare say, and I've heard it from a few people, that some people like the duo, not necessarily better, but there's a difference there because you get more of the songwriting. It's more intimate, it's more stripped down, and some people like that kind of format. So anyway, we finally did it. We went into Right Coast Recording with Bobby Gentillo, great studio, phenomenal engineer, and made it on Halloween night during a thunderstorm, a ferocious thunderstorm that deluged the streets, and I like to think added a little bit of electric juju, boogaloo to the thing.
Well, it's fantastic, and I do appreciate that your songs translate really well between duo, trio, and full band. I think that's the mark of good songwriting. And as for two people making a lot of noise, so many of my favorite bands are that way. Shovels and Rope, Brown Bird was that way.
All spectacular examples of that, for sure.
Yeah, I love it when a couple of people can make the noise of many more. All right, let's switch gears for a second. I want to know, you've been really busy. I've been tuning into some of your live stream stuff, and we'll get to that in a minute. Have you had time to listen to other things that you're not working on?
I've been listening to way too much like news and podcasts and stuff like that, just out of, just kind of finding yourself suddenly in this kind of worldwide cataclysm. I'm just so curious about what other people are thinking and saying about it. So I've probably been paying attention to media at the expense of my usual music listening, a lot of which happens in my car in the many, many hours I spend each week traveling to work, which is no longer the case. However, I've been listening to a lot of live stream shows from people that I know and would dearly like to see play more often, which has been cool. And yesterday I put on my friend DJ Smiles, aka Chris Donahue, has been making these playlists, music for shut-ins playlists, and this guy just has an encyclopedic knowledge of the music of many eras and just a really kind of sensitive feel for mood and things. He's been making these kind of quasi-apocalyptic, psychedelic or soulful or whatever song mixes. So I put on one of those playlists yesterday, and it was really great. yeah, a lot the live stream shows I've been tuning in and listening to. You know, it's one of my friends entertain me while I'm drinking coffee or making dinner, and that's been one of the cool aspects of our new predicament.
Yeah, it's a pretty cool silver lining. And you mentioned seeing people that you wouldn't ordinarily or as often as you would like to get to see them
Yeah.
play. I think Aaron Lee Taston talked about that too, that if he's not on the road and he's actually home from tour, he just wants to sit at home so he doesn't get out to see people. But right now you can be at home and get to see them.
Yeah,
Cool.
absolutely. It's true. That's exactly the way I feel about it too. I'd miss friends' performances so frequently because either I was performing and that was 99% of the time, or else I had a night off and I just very dearly wanted to not be in a bar, you know.
Right.
Now I can watch them while I'm scrambling eggs. It's great.
What are some of the ones you've gotten to see?
I saw Shine Delphi last night. That was cool. His first live stream since the gigs all went away. I haven't seen him, and he did one, and it looked like it was pretty widely watched. That was great. He had Grace Mahar, his girlfriend, do some duetting with him, and then he did the Shine thing. Ended with his Disney medley, which is always a favorite of mine.
Love that.
I've seen Nathan a couple of times. Nathan Rivera from Southern California. He's out there. He's popping up at all different times of day. In the morning at night. One particular favorite broadcast featured him standing out in front of a sunny blue California sky while I was riding a stationary bike in front of a window featuring a rainy gray Pennsylvania sky. So that was really nice morning. Who else have I seen? This woman, Nikki Talley, really beautiful vocalist from the mountain region. She's not from Asheville, but it's somewhere in that mountainous area of North Carolina. Just a really beautiful songbird, and she was playing some clawhammer banjo and singing some old time songs in the morning.
Oh, you posted that one. I saw
I
that
did.
too. Her voice is gorgeous.
Yeah, she has a beautiful voice. We ran across each other. I think we shared a stage down in Winston-Salem years back, and I've run across her a few times down south since then. She and her husband Jason did a campfire show last night. I didn't catch it, but it's there up on her page, so I'm going to go back and watch that one too. They were just sitting outside their cabin in front of a campfire playing. You know, it's kind of cool seeing the different ways that people are present. I joined this site called this group somebody invited me to called Socially Distant Fest or something like that. And it's just got performers all day long, just all different kinds, and it'll just pop up in your feed once you join it. I think I posted one of my performances in there. I'm not certain if I did it right.
Yeah, there's so many of those groups now. I've been invited to so many of them, and I don't have internet, so I can't really be on Facebook most of the time. I save it up for the evening performances that you guys are doing.
It's probably for the better. It gets excessive. I find myself looking at my phone way more than I would ever allow myself to. But because we're all in this weird situation together, it somehow seems okay. So I'm trying to kind of get away from that, from being on it as much. But my new job description does require that I spend a lot of time fiddling with tech and figuring things out. That's enough.
We're all learning a lot, and we're getting to see each other's pets a lot. Gonzo keeps trying to come into the frame here.
Yeah, Ringo's whining at me just off screen. He's like, "What are you doing, man?"
I think Ringo's been the breakout star of the quarantine, actually.
That's intentional too. It wasn't by accident that I set him up his own cam. One night I was doing a show and I went to the Ringo cam and I went back to me and this guy was like, my daughters really want to see the dog. So I went back to the Ringo cam again.
You should do a whole show that just has the Ringo cam
and I'd
playing, but
soundtrack his movements. Who knows how weird this thing's gonna get? There'll be time for experimentation. It's already been a couple of weird nights with me up working in the studio till 4 a.m. on some project, and then it was over, and I'm like, oh, man, I don't know where I was going with that. So it's nice that there's time for that kind of thing.
You did that really great Kenny Rogers one too.
That was one of the projects in question. That was about like elbow deep in that thing at about 3 a.m. and I thought, what am I going for here? I'm just going to finish it and put it up there because I spent like a great deal of time tracking all the instruments and everything and mixing it. And then I realized that a lot of the mixing elements that I'm geeking out on so much are kind of lost on people that are listening on phones and tablets with these tiny mouse testicle sized speakers. But it's worth a shot. It's about the craft.
Well, it seems like you're learning a lot though.
Oh,
mean,
definitely. I feel
I
like
hope that when this is all over, people will still do. I mean, there were plenty of people that did these live streams before all of this weirdness, but I hope more people will do it now that people are going to be set up and know how to do it.
yeah, me too. I mean, I paid for the software through the year, so I'm hoping to keep the show, my little show going. I've kind of been calling it DiSanto Manor Live, and a couple of local graphic designers and photographers kindly donated some cool logos and stuff to it. So I'm hoping to keep it going, acquire YouTube subscribers, and maybe when the big sick blows over, I'll have actual guests and stuff. You know, I could get another musician in here and we'll play together. We'll talk a little, kind of like a podcast video show thing. I've been wanting to do something like that for a long time, and this kind of forced my hand a little bit faster, but maybe I can take it into some new territory once there are some other people besides me that can be in the room.
I feel like you've been sort of heading in that direction. You've experimented a lot more than a lot of people I know with things like that. You had the Fix My Music series,
Yeah.
and the one where you travel around. I'm gonna forget the name of it, but where you
On that under songs.
Yeah.
I still want to do more of those too. It's the one I was actually going to release one over the winter when Jeff and I were on tour down south. We were retracing Hank Williams's death route, the last ride that he took in that Cadillac on New Year's Eve of 1952, 53. But we were kind of almost literally derailed when the van threw the serpentine belt in the town of Bristol. I'm not sure whether we were technically in Virginia or in Tennessee when it happened, because one side of the street is one and the other side. But anyway, it stopped us in our tracks, and we were able to get the van repaired in time to make it to the next gig, but not to do the rest of the trip. So that was my episode was kind of blown there. I hadn't really gotten enough footage or anything to do it. And they're very time consuming. Each episode take between writing the music and recording the music and editing the video and everything, writing the monologue. It takes like, 30 hours of work per episode or something. Wow. I definitely want to do more of them. I was having a great time with that.
They're really cool. So we need to get you up to 1,000 YouTube subscribers so this stuff starts to get monetized, right?
Yeah.
Is that the magic number?
I'm trying to, yeah, and then I can do my streaming show there too. I can do, I think, simultaneously Facebook and YouTube, and it'll make some little revenue streams. Which any little trickle of revenue you can get in this business is important to begin with, especially now when there are no guaranteed paychecks whatsoever. At least I could look at the month before and say, well, I'm playing at this bar and this old folks home and blah blah blah, I'm going to make X amount of money. Now I don't know. Fortunately, my audience has been very supportive of the live stream videos. People really seem to be connecting with it. I mean, obviously they're stuck inside, so there's something nice, I imagine, about, from my end, there's something really nice about knowing there are people out there watching and telling me they're singing along. And from their end, I imagine there's something really nice about knowing that somebody's actually sitting in their house right now playing for you. So they've been supportive of me and using the virtual tip jar and everything, and I'm grateful for that. It's enabling me to pay my bills so far.
Good. I hope that continues. Are you getting to do anything else? I know you take the dogs out, you go running. What else are you doing to occupy your time that's not staying up till 3 a.m. working on Kenny Rogers multi-track covers?
Well, I recently tore through the entire Tiger King documentary.
Oh.
I won't go too deep in there, but that's some wild shit. Anybody, if you want a weird night, smoke a joint and watch that thing. Just watch the whole thing. It's just a collection of the most unbelievable characters and events and settings, and it's really wild. No, I've got a list of things that I want to pursue that ranges from taking up my study of the Italian language again to learning the upright bass that I've got downstairs to just practicing more on all of my instruments. It's kind of been a time of really kind of leaning into this pivot of going from being a full-time performing bar musician to being a full-time internet content creator. So I've spent a lot of time working at that, just fiddling with different setups for the live stream and working on different shows, material for different shows for that. I'm hoping that I'm going to kind of settle into a groove here, because there's no routine anymore. I had kind of a workflow before. There's not really anymore. It's just kind of, all right, what am I doing today? It's like establishing a new routine entirely. I'm hoping that's going to mellow, and then I'm going to get around to actually doing some of these other projects. And I think that will happen. I mean, who knows how long we're going to be in this situation? I've seen no real evidence of that going one way or the other anytime soon. So, yeah, hopefully we'll all get the chance to enrich ourselves a little bit somehow.
Use the time for good. All right, so I've been ending these with, I started out by saying a 30-second plug, but what is time at this point? Who cares how long?
What was it ever, but what is it now?
Especially now, yeah. I've lost any tenuous grasp I had remaining on it. So a plug telling us, how we can best support you either right now or always, how people can find out more info about what you do and what's important to you, that kind of thing. So it's all yours.
Sure. The hub for kind of checking out the work that I've done so far is leodisanto.com. There's everything from travel articles to various video projects to poetry to obviously recordings of my music and my albums, links to the Vinegar Creek site where you can buy them all. And my albums I'm selling them all for pay what you will. That's something I've always done. It's not new given the pandemic, but maybe more relevant now because you can pay, if you only can pay $1, that's fine. Pay $1, download the album. If you can pay more, that's obviously appreciated. And I'm even been telling people, if you can't pay anything, just contact me and I'll send you a download, because these are strange times and I think we all have to try to, help each other along. The place where most of the action's happening these days is the Leo DiSanto Facebook page, the music page. That's where all my live streams air and are archived thereafter. And another good place, and one of my favorite pages, because it's something that I can kind of depend on, is my Patreon page, which is just patreon.com/Leo DiSanto, where you can become a subscriber. And there are normally different kind of like reward tiers, and some of that's gone out the window because I've been making most things public these days, because it seems fair given that some people have lost their livelihoods entirely. But it's a nice way that creators can generate a little bit of reliable income, and it's become a pretty big deal for me now too. I'm hoping to start doing some more interactive things, as I figure this technology out, bringing in little videos from friends, so it seems like somebody's on the show with me, promoting other local businesses, since there are places that are struggling but offering limited or modified services. I'm going to be giving some shout outs to different people that you can support and might have something to offer you. And I have plans in the works for some benefit shows coming up where I'll donate all of the tips that I make at that show to various local organizations that are doing good work right now.
It's wonderful. It's really great. Let's see. Anything else you want everybody to know before we finish? Oh, James Maple just joined right at the end. Hi, James. James is coming up next. Let me say that real quick. At noon Eastern, I'll be talking with best friend James in Mystic, Connecticut. But anyway, anything else you want everybody to know, or anything you want to say?
Yeah, just don't be a dick out there. Be nice to each other. These are weird times. When the going gets weird, the weird turn pro, as Hunter S. Thompson said. So, let's all keep rolling through this thing.
Let's keep doing our best. Thank you so much for taking the time.
Thanks
especially
for what you do.
A little bit early as this didn't used to be early for me. It's early for me now.
Me too, but thanks for doing what you do, and being such a staple of music scenes everywhere, and letting people know what they can do to support the folks out there making songs.
Yeah, I feel like if I don't make music, I have to find other ways to contribute. So here we are. So
an equally critical part of the process, I'd say.
Thank you very much. See everybody at noon. Thanks again, Leo. Enjoy your day.
Thanks, JJ. You too.